And we are live. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast. I am this week's host, Henry Wind. You can find me on Twitter at Henry Wind. And let me tell you, fellas, it is a great week to be a Manchester United fan. I'll tell you that much. A win away at Luton. And as we all know, it's a tough place to play. Tough place to play out here. We have a lot to dig into. It is match week for St. Louis City. Shout out to the City boys. But let's get a quick check-in with the fellas. Lucas Winkleman, how you doing today?
What's up, baby? I'm good. Good to see you guys. Stoked for this episode. Is this 2 weeks in a row that all of our clubs won their games?
Oh, no,
wait.
because Chelsea,
Spurs and Chelsea. Damn, crazy. No, I'm on top of the world after the last 5 games. Really excited to dive into that. Sorry that I missed the Mecca moments talk about City. Huh?
Top of the world, but not
Baby, it's a close race, my boy. Just give it time. You'll get there too in a couple seasons. But good to see you guys.
Well, Lucas, thanks for being here, brother. 11 goals in the last 2 games for you. And to a man who hasn't scored 11 goals all year, Nick Hayflinger, how are we doing?
Oh, man.
We're doing great. As always, you can find me on Twitter at HeyFeet4. Hey, you guys are talking a lot of trash, but if you told me at the beginning of the year that we would get points against City in both games this year, I would call you liars. So
you're doing the Lord's work. You're doing the Lord's work.
And besides that, I'm pumped for the St. Louis City game tomorrow. I am going and I am taking my daughter. It will be her first game, so I am pumped for that. And I'm pumped to talk about St. Louis City. So
memories to last a lifetime, bro. I hope that you cherish every bit of that. Take a lot of photos. Can't wait to see. Andy Hoover, how are you doing, brother?
Never better, man. Yeah, we're doing good. I think Dope said it last year where, when United was doing their thing, that I'm purely a St. Louis City fan this year. I support no other club. I never have, never will.
Don't take my shtick, man. Don't take my shtick.
Just kidding.
Some podcasts may steal ideas from other podcasts, but not here. Not here.
No, trust in Ange. Ange is the future. Ange is the way, and the discourse around that's insane. So, we're doing good, though, outside of that.
Good, brother. Good to see you. And finally, my United brother, the second half of the United Corner, my guy, Connor Sindobri. Check in,
What's
bro.
going on, fellas? Happy to be here. One of the most informed teams in the world in 2024. There's just no arguing that. And also, City's getting ready to start. So I'm going to have 2 teams that I'm diehard for all the way through here. Bielefeld, you guys are waiting for it. Did drop points again this weekend. So we're kind of still in the relegation battle in Bundesliga 3, but we're looking to stay up. But it's good to see you fellas. Happy for City to be back. Happy to be on the same side for at least half of the episode moving forward. I guess half of the episode's moving forward, but good to be here. Let's get it rolling.
Well, fellas, now that we're all
started this United Corner bullshit, they're using it.
I know, they're soaking it up, dude.
Oh,
it's
yeah. The moment he said it, I was like, "Yep, I'm gonna get a sign in the back here that just says United Corner."
Today we have a great episode. We got our weekend recap. We have some St. Louis City preview as well as looking at the Champions League games that happened last week and coming up this week. But fellas, today is a big episode because today it's our first sponsored episode that we've ever had as a podcast. So shout out to Manscaped for being our first sponsor. So 2024 is here and in full swing. And that means it's time for a New Year's resolution check-in with our friends at Manscaped. And newsflash, it's never too late to level up your grooming game and keep your bush tamed. Manscaped's new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're going for the trim or that clean-shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. Trusted by over 10 million men worldwide, now is your time to get a grip on your grooming with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code MECCA20 for 20% off and free shipping. Again, that's MECCA20 for 20% off and free shipping. The ball has dropped for the new year, but don't drop the ball on your balls. Fellas.
Did you practice that?
That was insane.
I practiced it.
Well
Thank you, fellas. But hey, the Manscaped sent us some stuff, and I know that you all got the chance to test it out the last week. Give us some initial thoughts on this.
Guys, I had no idea that ball deodorant was a thing.
No.
And by golly, does it do wonders. I mean, I will gladly admit
the crop
it gets
preserver.
swampy down
Yeah.
there, and it has not been swampy using that.
Yeah, dude. And like when you look at it on the outside, I thought that it was just some sort of lotion. And whenever I put lotion anywhere else on my body, never put it in that spot before. But it feels greasy sometimes.
Sure.
And ever since I've gotten relaxed, Jesus Christ. It took me a second, but I've been using this stuff twice a day now, and it is the best. Like I never thought to put that stuff on me in that spot, and A1.
Hey, we're here for it.
A1.
Personal user of the 5.0 for sure. And I have cut myself in the past with previous just general old beard trimmers, and that's not the case these days, brother. Yeah, it was a dangerous task for a while there, bro. Like I had my old beard trimmer from college, and like that thing wasn't safe to put on my face, much less anywhere else. So the trust I have in the product is wholehearted and true. And yeah.
I've been a Manscaped like truther since like they came out, since it started. So even before Manscaped came, I've been using the products. I will continue to buy the products. Even if you want to keep sending me more, I'll take that, but I'll still keep buying it because truthfully, it's just a game changer. Like you guys said, everybody likes a little ball deodorant around now. Everybody likes those parts to smell good, Like,
Hey, but the man
Manscaped
is a gooner, so he doesn't know that much.
Yeah. Shout out Luis. But get 20% off and free shipping with code MECHA20. Again, that's MECHA20 at manscaped.com. Embrace a new you and definitely embrace a new trimmer courtesy of Manscaped. With that being said,
your balls
gentlemen,
will thank you. Your balls will thank you.
Man, if you didn't think we were gonna sell out so fast, you guys were so wrong. Because like we were taking that opportunity. So here's everyone's shout out that come to the Mecca Boys, come shop and see what's up.
And
store is
gentlemen,
open.
Gentlemen, I promise you, it won't just be your balls that are thanking you either.
Happy Valentine's Day, Lucas.
Happy
Congratulations.
Valentine's
Day. Also, speaking to the sellout, Manscaped also hooked it up. They sent us some shirts, sent us some boxers, sent us some toiletry kits. 3 of us are wearing the shirts right now, and I think 4 of us, maybe more, are wearing the boxers right now. So we believe in it, and thanks for being here, Manscaped. So, fellas, let's talk some footy. We already talked some ball, but let's talk some footy. So the weekend recap, we're going to kick it off. We're not going to touch on it too quick or too much because Butchie isn't here. But Dobes, you got a good look at this Brentford-Liverpool game, finishing 4-1 in Liverpool's favor. That's not only a big result for Liverpool, but that's a big result for the title race. So give us your thoughts on the game and what can we expect going forward?
I think the thing with Liverpool, and obviously it was sort of my United bias going into the season, like picking them to sort of finish like farther down the table. But this team, it's like we talked about Klopp inspiring them. It's so apparent. Like even without Salah, yes, I think the biggest takeaway from this game is the injuries and can they cope, because they still are very much in 4 competitions. But this team's a wagon. Like I've been sitting there saying that City's getting ready to go on this run of consistently not losing games, and Arsenal and Liverpool are going to have to keep up. But at the same time, Liverpool's been doing this exact same thing. And Brentford's a decent side. And just the way that it can be anybody from Liverpool. Like we see the amount of people that are scoring goals from them. It can come from anybody on the field at any moment. And they're just a dangerous team. It's like you look at Endo and that midfield of guys that we didn't really necessarily, at least in my opinion, didn't think were going to be a midfield to potentially be leading the Premier League. And you look at McAllister and you look at Endo and you look at sort of the jobs, and you got to mention him again, Connor Bradley, who I know that Trent was at, but Connor Bradley was bald again. But this Liverpool team's rolling. Yeah, this Liverpool team's rolling it, and whether it be feeding off Klopp leaving or whether it just be, the quality they have, regardless of who's in the lineup, like they're rolling. As much as they pain to say it, I don't know if they're a favorite still. I still like City, but it's going to be tough to get them off the top spot.
Yeah, I think Dobes is spot on. These, I think they're nobodies, but like their backups that they're finding are still performing well. So like it's hard to even look past them, but I will say my agenda is still holding so true because I thought they looked quality and Trent was not in the lineup at all. when Bradley's on, I think they actually can possess normally and play defensively as a back four instead of kind of figuring it out on the fly. So I think they play a lot better without him on the pitch, and I'm going to continue to bring that up every time they do.
My concern on Liverpool is that the incorrect Spurs goal that was given to them in the previous parts of the year has since turned around and been flipped on its head, and that they are getting calls. Yeah. Things that should be penalties that aren't, or vice versa.
Like a football tackle?
Like a football tackle on Ivan Toney. And I don't think it's as extreme that like I'm not crediting their success to that, because I agree with everyone. They're a great team. And in a 4-1 game, obviously they were the better side, but also it was 3-1 at the time, and it should have been 3-2, and that changes the swing of things for sure. But I'm nervous about that. I'm nervous that Klopp isn't not in on it. Good Lord, but everyone loves Klopp apparently. So it's just. There's weird things that I don't like to see, although they're still absolutely dogging teams at the end of the day. So it really doesn't matter.
Liverpool's going to have an issue. And yes, I know that the Carabao Cup finals is Sunday, but they're still in 3 competitions. And I think that they can't let that hurt them in the Prem if they want to go on and win it, because they're still in the Europa League. They're still in the FA Cup. And they're going to play a ton of games. And when you're missing, Curtis Jones is out, Jota's out. We don't know. I mean, Allison picked up another injury. Thiago's still injured. When you're playing in this many competitions, it's like I'm already seeing the Klopp excuses 2 weeks from now when somebody gets hurt this weekend, and it's gonna be fixture congestion. You know how he fucking does it. It's like clockwork. But if I'm a Liverpool fan, I think that it's an exciting time, but at the same time for the Prem, it's a little bit concerning.
It's like clockwork.
Yep.
Come on now, fellas. We're here for it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Lucas, you have a lot to celebrate this weekend yet again, and by a lot, I mean 5 goals against Burnley. Are you all just coming into form? You have a couple of good games, or like what's going on with Arsenal right now?
Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts on this, but I'll try and be concise. I want to start with the fact that yes, I know it was a game against an inevitably relegated Burnley squad. But on the road in general this year, we've been fantastic from the beginning. And we saw that, I don't know if you guys watched the game or not, but Odegaard's beautiful half volley in the first minute was
disgusting.
Quality finish.
Disgusting.
The ball too, like the ball across was sick too.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not even going to talk a ton about this game specifically, because although, I may not have predicted us putting 5 in, granted our recent form I may have, but we've scored. I've got a lot of stats for this, but we've scored first in 14 of our 18 away games this year, and in 7 of our last 8 Prem fixtures altogether. So I think that key for us is continuing to start hot. And I know that in the past, towards the beginning of the season, when we were in our slump, and then here and there last year, we weren't doing that, or we were trying to, but then we'd get caught off, and there'd be a bad mistake, and then another team would score early, and it would take a lot for us to catch up. We'd get spread out trying to do so, get scored on again, so on and so forth. So, nonetheless, we held them to 8 shot attempts, 0 on target. Against West Ham, 1 shot on target. 1 shot on target to Liverpool, and 3 to Forest. So in our last 4 games, we've allowed 5 total shots on goals.
That's crazy.
And then we scored 16 goals in those same amount of games, and that's not even including the 5 we scored against Crystal Palace the game before. So 21 goals in the last 5 games is insane. So while I'd love to talk about that game more, half the fucking team scored on them again. We knew it wouldn't be close, so I'll just leave it at that. But I do want to talk about what the fuck Arteta has been cooking up since our midseason slump. I think there's a lot of recency bias all around the game, obviously. But I haven't heard a peep about us signing a striker in the summer since before the Palace game a month ago, since January. So with us firing on all cylinders right now, getting goals from 9 or 10 different players in the last 5 games, I think for me it comes down to 4 things. Time off, set pieces, our ability to rotate players and not suffer from the injury bug, thankfully, knock on wood, everybody, please. and then our wingers and captain.
No shot. Yeah.
And then our wingers and captain finding great form. So time off, that time in Dubai was exactly what we needed, and I know we've talked about it before, but just the disconnect, reset, and refocus was it. I do think it gave Arteta time to kind of fine tune and tweak our game plan into what we've seen them do recently. I think it's sometimes tough across all of our teams when you have to play at the weekend and then a midweek game as well to find enough time to adjust a game plan in a big enough way while also fitting in a couple recovery days. So I think that week allowed us to do that. Set pieces, we typically pack the box 5, 6, 7 guys, and I think a big piece of that is having the majority of them being 6 foot or 6'1" and taller.
And when you got guys
Gabriel,
setting picks, it certainly helps too.
Yeah,
it does.
And
it does.
Like extra time.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know your role, but Gabriel, Saliba, Rice, Kai, and Benny Blanco are all over 6 foot or over 6'1". We've scored 24 goals from set pieces this season and only recently have done it consistently, and obviously that shows. Rotating players. While we don't have that 30-goal striker right now, it's been clear in the last 5 games that we don't necessarily need it because we're getting goals from guys all over the pitch.
I want to clip that up though, because like the thing is that like it's great that you all are informed, and I know that you did preface it by saying that it might be recency bias that you're saying this, but like isn't this the exact same thing of like earlier in the season last year you all like had this great form and Saka was scoring all these goals and Martinelli was scoring all these goals, but then you got to the business end of the season and it's like the main thing was that you don't have a striker, and that's where a lot of the blame went. So isn't it like a little premature to be like celebrating this right now when you know that it's still such an issue?
No, because I'm gonna celebrate when they do well. But if to finish my thought there, although we didn't win the title last year, it did work for most of last season with our wingers and Odegaard getting 15, 15, and 14 respectively. Yeah. So, depending on the team's style of play, I don't think it's always fully necessary to have that one guy that you have to rely on when you can rely on 3 to 4 guys that can get you 10 or more goals in a season. And that obviously adds up to, in this case, last season to more than that 30-goal striker. So I think that for me right now, we still need to be looking at a striker in the summer, but we've got a lot of guys wanting to score and are, as of the last 5 games are converting. And so that, gives me a lot of confidence in the squad that like they all want to attack and don't just want to feed the one guy at the top. So
your manager's been talking about Kylian Mbappe more than signing a striker recently, so
I would hate that.
It's just kind of wank material to me for a guy to just be talking about another team's player, especially when he knows where he's going. But, personal opinion.
We'll see.
Think the thing,
a guy can dream.
I agree with what you're saying in terms of like spreading the goals out. And I don't necessarily think it's like the emergence of Saka. You can't, like, you'd be remiss not to talk about how good he's been, just specifically over the last like month and a half.
Him and Haaland are the top goal scorers in the Prem in 2024.
I was going to say that. I think the biggest thing comes with it's a lot easier to be the 4th, 5th, or 6th goal in a game like that, to where you need Saka to be that guy in late March when it's going to happen.
City and it's 0-0.
Not even City, or it's going to be 1-1. Like, remember the Bournemouth game last year that was so important to like the run. Like, it's 1-1 against Bournemouth late in the game. Like, that's where you need. It doesn't have to be a 9. Obviously, you want a 9, but that's where I think you need. And it looks like it's going to be Saka in terms of just like it looks like he's willing to take that burden on his shoulders this year.
I mean, could be Trossard too. Like, we played him at striker the last couple games, but he has to be in the line.
9 moving forward. Like, he has to be.
He's a baller.
But I think that's what we'll really see. It's like obviously 11 goals in the last 2 games with none conceded is incredible, and it's kind of making a statement. But I also think it's like we're going to learn a lot more about this Arsenal team when it does come to 2-2, 1-1, 0-0, crunch time. Those are where titles are won. But obviously you have to be over the moon with current results.
I'm so excited, and that's not to say that we won't get goals scored on us the rest of the season, because we will. But Raya also hasn't played a wrong foot since this run either, and prior to this run, we've seen him make a couple howlers or have a couple howlers here and there. So I think that Arsenal Twitter's been talking a lot about, now that we're playing really well, getting Ramsdale in there. And while I was pushing for that, the first half of the season, I think that you can't mess with the mojo right now. You just kind of have to ride it until something happens, whether that's, a team scoring a couple on us or us, dropping a couple points and tying somebody, whatever the case might be. But I think in terms of, keeper as well, you kind of gotta ride that. But no,
I saw something. I saw something funny the other day. It was talking about, because Arsenal has scored so many set pieces, but it was a United account that was, of course, like, we took City's chief football officer. We're taking Newcastle's sporting director. We might as well take Arteta to be a Ten Hag set piece coach. Just bring him in.
Might as well. Whatever.
Back to this game, the only thing I wanted to bring up, and this is actually literally no banter, if you like, I think Dobes and Winks are the only two who watched it, but I didn't think that was a pen. The second one, I didn't think it was at all. I don't even think he got
what is a pen now?
No one knows.
I know.
That's the fucking problem.
Pretty sure we have an episode title.
Yeah,
called
very
that.
True.
We didn't come to a solution at the end of it either.
Yeah, go back and listen.
That's why we're not in charge.
3 points is 3 points.
It's 3 points.
Is 3 points. And you said it at the beginning, but it may not be as impressive with going up against a team that might be going down next season, but at the same time, you can't help who you play. You can only determine what's the performance you're going to put out. And we'll talk about United in a second, but we also played a team that is towards the bottom half, and we didn't play super well. So you all did, and give credit there. Tottenham, man. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. But those sneaky Wolves do it again. 2-1 victory over Tottenham Hotspur. Get after it, my boy.
I hate Wolves, dude. They do this every year.
Same, bro.
So do I, dude.
They do this every year. They blow it against every other team but the Big Six, and then they show up to play against the big boys. So that's annoying, and it happened again. But, you want to stick with some set pieces? We can stick with some set pieces. We've been terrible on them. Terrible on set pieces. And it's not necessarily – we've scored a couple. The set piece defense was was the downfall. But truthfully, bro, Wolves could have had 4. Hwang Yi Chan missed one early. As Pep would say, the other Korean guy, I think is what he said word for word. Pedro Neto, dude, dogged us. And to be fair, he's been dogging everyone. Even when they played Chelsea last week, I texted in the group, I was like, he's an absolute dog. He's an absolute dog. So,
Chilwell was on an island, but dog.
He's going to look so good in a United shirt next year.
That's crazy. I heard Spurs already put a bid in. No, but for real, they could have had a bunch. Obviously Spurs are going to be open at the back on the counters, but they were just so clinical on them. Truthfully only on one, but they looked like they could score every time. Not having Destiny and Pedro Porro sucked.
I think that was the story of the game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but they're not as Ben Davies and Emerson Royale are not as good. That's just truth. Everyone can accept that. It shouldn't come down to them, and I guess that maybe makes me realize how good Destiny and Pedro Porro have been, because I think Ben Davies had 2 chances that he probably should have tucked. Emerson Royale couldn't find a pass out of that inverted position, so that wasn't great. I'm not ready to throw the loss out because of that. Lack of creativity for sure. Wasn't Matter's day. He's not really been the same since he came back from injury. I mean, he's been. You can still see everything going through him, but just a little bit less dynamic, maybe. It was a tough watch, and I'm gonna blame Hen for the second goal, because he sent in a group chat and was like, "Hoove, I think it's coming 2-1. You guys are dogging. It's a matter of time." And then literally I pulled open my phone to text back. I was like, "Stop." They go on a counter and bag one on a Pedro Neto assist. João Gomez. You guys know who this cat is? You ever heard of
Too
João
tall.
Gomez?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was a bummer. The discourse online has been about Ange. I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
What are they saying?
Just people questioning him. General, this is probably the first time that he's been kind of questioned. But like
right on schedule. It's right on schedule.
Dude, it can't be a schedule, bro. It can't be a schedule. Like, this is the most attractive football we've played in years. They're in fourth or they're in fifth now. Like, brother, let's go back and look at what happened last year and how we fell apart completely. Just stick with somebody. We're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Needing your top players to have games is gonna be crucial. But it's not the end of the world. No one got relegated. We're not gonna get relegated. Anything better than 8th is an improvement. Give the guy some time. You can see that there's actually funds being put into the squad now, which is like the first time that I've ever seen that. So it feels like there's a project. He said the exact same thing Conte said, like, what was it, 18 months ago? He's like, I'm a manager, not a magician. So didn't love that comment, frankly. But he's right. This job's always felt like you need a damn magician, bro. So, why does that change? You move. They don't play this weekend. Can't ruin my weekend. Now it's up to St. Louis City to determine my mood on Saturday. No quarrels. Don't worry. Be happy.
Was Timo missed?
I don't know. And when he subbed in, I thought this was interesting. He subbed him in at striker. He subbed him in through the middle, which I didn't love. I think I follow this Invert the Wing account, who for a really long time I kind of was like, oh, this guy might be legitimate. He's got a Class B coaching license and whatever. But now I think he's just a troll. But he does make a good point in the sense that a lot of times Richie's scoring goals, yes, but he's scoring goals on one time across the box or headers or things of that nature. I do think we score more goals with Sonny in the middle just because of his ability to link play. Richie doesn't have that, but it's no slight on Richie. It's just, if we're gonna use him as a piece to build around on the wings, he's got to be able to turn, find a pass.
That was gonna be my comment, because I think Richie looks so much better when Timo was with him.
Yeah, it was a weird one because Kulusevski was ghosting, but then he had a great finish. He's one of those guys you can never count out, but like. There were so many lackluster. Like it felt like no one could put it all together at the same time.
Yeah.
So I do feel we'll probably see Brendan Johnson again. I don't. It's just they're different players. You've got Brendan Johnson, who's a vertical threat and fast and pacey and can find himself in the right place at the right time. And Decky's not as fast. He's a great dribbler. But when you can't create. And there were so many opportunities for him to put in a good cross or find a final third pass that he just didn't do. It just felt unorganized. It wasn't working. It didn't work together. But this is the first time we've really had some guys healthy too at the same time. So now you're kind of back to square one a little bit, to where he's got to figure out the best formation. He's got to figure out the best guys. The personnel is pretty much locked up until that top half. And that's where it gets interesting. So I don't know. Here you go.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is you all are not a Premier League winning side. So to expect the consistency at the top level from every single game, it's just not going to be there right now. And so I think, like, I don't know why you're laughing. I'm saying that, like, it's not an overreaction at all from what Hoover's saying, which is good to hear, because I think, like, some of the other Spurs Twitter from what you're saying is people are.
I thought you were going into banter. Like, that's why I was laughing.
No,
Sorry.
No, not at all.
Brother, we've never been a Premier League winning side. That is no banter. That is just true.
No. But I'm saying, like, if there's a dip in form and a 2-1 loss to Wolves, like, it is not the end of the world. And just like you said, like, Ange will have to figure that out if he wants to get to that point of title contenders or solidified top 4 every single season. You have to win those games even when it's hard. So, like, as someone who's not a fan of Spurs, like I feel like Ange is in one of the most secure spots as a manager in the Prem. Like there's not many more coaches I'd put above him in the security standpoint. So fuck off, the Spurs fan.
That's
Like, calling
stupid.
for it.
I know. There's so many weird things just kind of bouncing around, like just thoughts on Twitter, and it's like, the Brexit boys are complaining about all the tourist fans. We do now have a stadium where you're not gonna just bring in locals every single week, right? And we've got Heung-Min Son, who's an international icon, and we're bringing Eastern Asia out to these games all the time, and like people are complaining about things about those, like they couldn't get the fans engaged. 90% of that gets taken care of when you put on a really good product. So it was frustrating. You could the whole game was frustrating. Decky's goal came out of nowhere. Like there was nothing for them to build on, and there were so many aspects of it that just sucked. It burned. You want to beat Wolves at home. That you see that one on the calendar, and like you should come away with 3 points. But as we've seen, this is kind of just what Wolves have been doing too. I don't think it was a lack of respecting your opponent thing either. It just wasn't the day. It didn't work.
Didn't work.
And you live and you learn. You move on.
Yeah, Dobes always says, like, whenever we play Wolves, that it's always our bogey team. And I was kind of hoping that after Ruben Neves left to Saudi, that, like, that wasn't going to be a thing anymore. And they just are. They just figure it out.
That Portuguese core still gives me nightmares. Too.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. And Pedro Neto's going to get swooped up this summer. I thought he was going to go last summer, but had the huge injury.
We've said before.
Yeah, it was the injury thing, last season, maybe even the season before.
Very injury prone. Even still.
Yeah. Still young, that's the thing when you look at it. It's like you can kind of figure that stuff out in completely separate point. But Gio Reyna the same way, super injury prone, but when you're still 21, 22, like you still time to figure that out. So on to Man City Chelsea. Also, fellas, I don't know if you all watched. I made a TikTok before the games this weekend, and I predicted all the match fixtures. And with the exception of this City result and the Tottenham result, I got all of them spot on, and I even guessed the majority of the scorelines correctly, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But
should have hit a parlay.
That would have been nuts. Would have lost because I obviously didn't hit these two. But the City-Chelsea game, I thought it was going to be like a 2-0 victory for City, and it came away 1-1. I have some thoughts on this one, but Nikki, I'm going to give you your microphone first. The big thing that I'll call out, though, is that City is now 4 points off of the top spot with the game at hand, but 4 points off the top spot.
Have your flowers, Nikki.
We're back. We're back where we belong in 10th. So
War trophy hanging in the rafters.
Absolutely. All is well. But no, I thought we looked good. All things considered. I know in here we have Haaland missed a lot of opportunities. I think they missed a lot towards the end of the game as well. But I also think we missed some as well. And I definitely think the scoreline could have gone our way. I think the things that we looked good in and we normally haven't this season are like the little things, like the crisp passes, the first touch, the passing it around the back, Enzo taking risks on some of his breaking the line passes and then working off. And I also think that just goes hand in hand with kind of our little bit of identity we have, which is playing to the level of who we're playing against, which I think we showed up against City.
First time.
Yeah. But the bads, I'll start off with, you have it as well on our notes, Sterling.
It's insane, bro. It's so crazy.
I had some of the guys over, the Chelsea guys over to watch the game, and he literally, when he gets the ball, he looks to take someone on rather than look at anyone else or try to continue the passing of play or any bit of the flow. He just stops it, immediately tries to find a player and take them one-on-one. It was a great finish, and I'm happy he scored. He should have had 2 or 3. The other one is Jackson. I think in front of goal, the man is a deer in headlights. Obviously, I think out wide is where he belongs. He played a great ball into Sterling, but he can't hold up the play at all when we play him the ball up top, and he's literally atrocious in front of goal. I don't know what's going on with him. But moving on to some positives, I thought Disasi had a absolutely hell of a performance. I have been
It's his best
iffy on
game in a
him.
Chelsea jersey, bro.
By a long shot.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
So his best game in a Chelsea
shirt.
jersey.
Oh, absolutely. I was just about to say I've been like iffy on him all year, and
Yeah.
this one, it's funny. Joey Beeg brought up a great point. He says one of the things he loves about players is when you are getting a lot of shit in the media, you perform well and you improve. If you continue to be shit, he thinks he doesn't like them. So he pointed that out about Disasi, and I couldn't agree more. I thought he had a hell of a performance. One thing I really appreciated, obviously as a defender, when playing, was the enthusiasm that he had after the tackles. He was roaring and celebrating them like goals. That's shit I love to see. I also thought Gusto had whatever Doku.
He's
in
a
his
dog,
pocket the entire
dude. He's
game.
a dog.
He played well.
He is very, very impressive of late. I think he is so good. He's also 20 years old. I know Reece James is back in training, but if we continue playing Gusto, I don't think you can drop him. I also think Enzo played super well. Like I was saying before, some of those passes that haven't been going off for us are working out well. They were, and Enzo was a lot of those. He was taking a lot of risk because he kind of had to in our defensive third by breaking lines, and they were coming off well. I also will say I think Poach got it wrong. I completely agree with Anthony Russo. I'll give a little shout out here. He commented in, I think it was our group message. You can't sit back against City for 25 minutes and not expect that outcome. Yeah. I also will say, I think that's why City is City and they're so dangerous. It's because before he made the subs, we were getting pinned in. So it's like, how can you justify subbing on an attacking threat at all? Like, yes, it's probably like hindsight, maybe what we should have done instead of just sitting back. But like before he made those subs, they were getting a lot of chances. So I don't think he got it right on that. And sitting back is never good against City for 25 minutes. And obviously, we saw the result. Rodri is unbelievable.
He's one of the best players in the world, dude.
Yeah, I think we all have seen it for a while, but like, man is unbelievable. And once it was funny, once I saw who was like about to hit it, I was like, oh shit. Like I literally like looked away.
The shot was a cannon, and like it took a huge deflection, but that shot was going in regardless of the deflection. It was a rocket. It was insane.
Dude, the intangibles that he does, like like from a purely footballing perspective, if you just watch him, the things he does are insane. And they always happen 4 to 5 passes before a dangerous chance or before a big moment. It's subtle. It's so subtle. His shiftiness, his ability to find a pass through defenders, and they are short. Sometimes they're really short, quick ones, but like his ability to shake a guy, find a quick pass, and spring the attack is second to none.
Everyone's confidence that they gain knowing that he's playing
for sure
mid and architecting for them is insane. Like Kevin De Bruyne,
he's undefeated.
The hell he wants on the field, wherever he wants.
He's undefeated for a year. He hasn't lost a game that he started in over a year.
It's insane.
Oh, they threw out the stat like mid game. They were like, City has not scored here since 2021.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck.
You're like, damn.
Yeah.
This game to me, it's harsh on Poach to say that he's the reason that, not the reason, I guess that's even harsher, that like City got a point because it's just what they do. But then again, like bringing on a defender with like 25 minutes left, the best team in the world at breaking down a low block, that like they're used to it. They've done it for a decade now. That's all they've done for a decade.
And it's
break down low blocks.
Someone who hasn't been playing too.
That's what I was surprised about.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then another kid comes on like that I barely even know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know this name. I'm looking at it right now. Cesare Casade. I don't know.
You fellas, I got to ask a big question here because I want to give a shout out to LJ. LJ's been on this kick for 8 months now, 9 months now. Haaland is wasteful in front of net. He scores more goals than anyone. There's no doubting that. But that man misses so many chances. And this season, obviously, he was injured for a big part of it. We know that, but still leading the Premier League fine. But this game was another situation where he could have bagged a couple and just wasted the chances. And I'm getting to the point where I don't really know what to think about it, because obviously he puts up all those numbers, but it has to be a conversation of how wasteful the guy is.
I also think you have to take into account how City plays and the amount of services
Chances
and the type
in
of services that are coming in. Because once again, like the guys brought up a good point when we were watching the game. Like, remember Haaland at Dortmund? Man was getting the ball like outside the box, taking touches into the box and hitting bangers. He's not doing that.
Picking it up at the halfway line.
Exactly. He's not doing that for City because they have midfielders and wingers that can hold the ball for ages. So he's just sitting in the box. Yes, I agree with you. He missed a lot of chances, 100%. But I also think he's still freaking quality.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're not going to say that he's a bad player.
Yeah.
But like, he's also still so young. He has a lot of room to grow, but it's weird to say that he is as wasteful as he is when he scores as many as he does. Like, it's just an odd thing.
Well, for a while, like sort of like the blueprint, and there's not really a blueprint to like beat City, but sort of the blueprint to frustrate them is always force them into the wide areas and try to make them cross the ball versus let them play intricate football through the middle. And that works up to a certain point. Like, I guess you could say because they did get the sitters, but it's also one of the reasons I think that they didn't score. Because so late in the game, how many times did we see Doku try to go one-on-one versus Gusto, lose the ball, and all of a sudden Chelsea was out? Yes, they would keep coming, but towards the end of the game, they almost sort of like Chelsea was forcing them wide.
No one to pass the ball to up top.
Well, exactly, but then they're whipping these balls in, and of course it comes from a moment of magic from Rodri to tie the game. I'm going to say this. You guys can disagree 100%. If that's not a handball, I don't know what a handball is.
Yeah,
I thought that was a handball.
If your arm's extended and the trajectory of the ball,
slow mo it. Yeah.
If that's what they do on penalties.
That's the
if your arm's extended,
no intent to push it. He's not doing that.
It doesn't matter. It has never mattered. If your arm's extended from your body, and the ball changes trajectory, that's a pen. Like, I think if that's in the 60th minute, I think they're giving that. I think because it's late in the game like that, I think they're like, oh, we can't have him win on the very last kick of the game.
The other factor to me,
he had his hand on his jersey to start the entire thing.
He had a whole fist full of jersey. I thought that meant even more. He had a full fist and then pushed it out of the way. I think if he wasn't holding his jersey, I always side with the defender, and you know this. If he wasn't holding his jersey and he made a natural turn with his chest and the ball hit his hand and rolled, I would say that that's harsh. If it came in directly off that corner and he's defending, I think that's harsh. The only reason he pushes
City live, so
the only reason he pushed it.
Describe what happened.
The only reason he pushed it was because his hand was grabbing a fist full of jersey. It was extended already, and then he turned with the jersey and moved the ball. Those are two totally different things.
I'm okay with a no call, but the notion
no call. But I thought
the notion that people are saying that it's like a clear, blatant no pen is insane to me.
I don't
think it's called. It doesn't get reversed.
I don't think it's that by no means, because I agree with the statement you made in the text, Dobes, of like we've seen way worse.
We've seen 10 times less called.
That should never be called.
But that's not. Yeah, that's just not the standard that of the referee.
Never should be called, I don't think.
I think that's a stonewall, but
I do too.
The fact that people in the group message were like, "There's no way, LOL, there's no." Like,
this is the first thing they said on the broadcast after.
Literally, they looked at Tim Howard. He's like, "Yeah, that's pen for me."
There's
no way. Clear cut, not pen.
It's unbelievable. Dobes, you have a lot to celebrate, my friend. 3 points is 3 points. United comes away with a 2-1 win over Luton at Luton.
Tough place to play.
In front of Harry Styles himself, Sir Harrison Styles, in the stands watching his Manchester United boys. Thoughts on the game, my boy?
I mean, going into the game, we knew this was going to be difficult. Like we saw Arsenal. It took a 97th minute winner to get a win. We saw Liverpool. I think it was like 92 or 93. To get a draw. And like we saw like 2 weeks ago with like Luton against Newcastle, where they were down and they come back in the game. So Newcastle's a good side, and you have to give absolute ton of credit just for the effort that they showed yesterday. From an overall performance standpoint from United, of course, it's you can't be happy with Luton sort of dominating possession of the ball. But I also think you have to look at a few moments within this game. Like obviously you look at the first goal, you can say of course it's a terrible bad back pass. From a Cassie clearance, it's a bad back pass. But like what doesn't show is the fact that the moment that ball goes deep, Haaland's sprinting 40 yards straight downfield to put that press in. It's like you have to credit the work rate. And then the finish is unbelievable as well. We saw Bruno miss one. We saw Garnacho miss the same exact chances, and Haaland that made that look easy. Then you go to the next one, Garnacho shin ball that goes directly at Haaland, and his ability to chest that ball into the back of the net is like he 100% meant to do that. I will not take that from anybody else that he didn't mean to do that. He said he meant to do that. Kid's on fire. 7 goals in his last 6 games. The youngest player ever to score in 6 straight Premier League games. I think our win rate with Rashford, Garnacho, and Haaland up front is like 82% compared to, and we're averaging like 2.7 points a game versus I think we're somewhere like 40% when that front three is not starting. So the front three for me is a positive, and we should have won this game by 4 or 5 more goals. I think the main concern coming from the United game is sort of the same thing that we've had all season. It's we can create these dangerous chances, and yes, we may not score, but it's our inability to dictate a game. What Ten Hag wants to do is it's no secret that Man United right now is we're a counterattacking team. It's who we are. It's what our identity has been this year, and we sort of own that. But I think what kills me is that you see how quickly that Luton can break the press. And what we saw earlier in the year with United is we try to sit in a 4-2-3-1 and press. But what teams would do is they'd toss in that wing back or a center back, or whatever it may be, into center midfield to sort of give that double pivot and make it easier to break the press. And what we did with Cassie back is we've sort of switched to this 4-1-4-1, where you have Cassie sitting as a lone 6. You have Mano and Bruno who are supposed to press the 2 6s. But what's happening is the moment that pass gets beat, it's Cassie versus 2 guys, and he doesn't necessarily have the legs or the ability to make those intercepting tackles. Yes, he's good at it, but he also, I think he's like 2.9 times he's being dribbled around a game. Like his legs are sort of getting up to where he can't make those tackles, and you're seeing it to where he's having to make those last-ditch challenges, and that's always been part of his game. But now, even more than ever, it's being exposed just because of how quickly we're being played through the press. And then once we get played through the press, I can't think of a single time yesterday where I was nervous that Luton was going to score. Give credit to the way they do score. I personally think that Onana should have done better, but I can't think of a single clear-cut chance that they had the entire game that made me nervous. What is so frustrating is the fact that the moment that we do get the ball, it's like because we're so good on the counter, it's all we do. We rely on, all right, 2-touch, boom, let's find somebody deep, let's find somebody. We're losing the ball. I think Bruno lost the ball 17 times, which is insane. But by the way, Kevin De Bruyne lost the ball 32 times against Chelsea. So he lost the ball
70% possession and 40 other line-breaking passes.
He lost the ball 17 times, but his ability to get on the ball and not be able to just stop, turn, play triangles, keep the ball, keep a little bit of possession, and dictate the game. When Manchester United goes up 2-0 against anybody, and you can't put your foot on the ball and dictate the game, and I mean for 5 minutes, like 5 minutes, you know that it's a fucking problem. And when you're relying on an 18-year-old to be your best midfielder, who like Cassie needs to take pages out of Mano's book, because he was the only player that had any sort of balls to, sit there and put his foot on the ball and pass the ball a little bit. But, it's overall, you're happy with the results. Tough place to play. Like I said before, I'm not necessarily going to be over the moon until I get a full performance. The difference is that Ten Hag he made the reactionary changes he needed to make. The moment that Johnny Evans came on, Johnny Evans was fucking mint. The moment that Scott McTominay came on, he wasn't necessarily great, but the whole game changed. And so we made that reaction to not get Cassie or Maguire sent off, and we take the 3 points and we move.
Oh my God, Cassie should have been gone in the 60th. Bro.
I was about to say, bro.
That's insane. That you guys are insane.
What do you mean?
You guys
the second yellow?
Should have been a yellow.
Woodrow on a yellow card in like the 7th minute does the same thing to Maguire right after that.
Oh, not
every single foul is a yellow card. It's not
100%.
frustrating. What's frustrating to me is his second foul, Cassie's second foul, is a yellow. His first foul is nowhere near a yellow. And that's the frustration. It's a half toe where he barely catches the guy.
Yeah.
and he gets a yellow
on
because
a
his
break. On a
because
break, they were driving through the middle of the field. He was the last guy before the back line. That's a yellow every time.
2 minutes later, they didn't give a call to Luton because Casemiro's not on the back of the jersey. Like, I'm in complete agreement that the second one could have been a yellow, but at the same time, not every foul on the field is a yellow. Like, the referee lost that control of that game.
Yeah,
way before that happened. Manu's foul was worse than anything.
Yeah,
dude, dirty player.
Manu's card was the
That one was
perfect
insane.
slide tackle. It was the perfect slide tackle.
You guys,
They're individual moments.
You guys had to have seen the clip going around. The Rashford press with Barkley, just like
That's it. Yeah. I could go on for 20 minutes about that.
Okay, well,
do it.
I think when you were saying breaking the press, I think Rashford does affect that a little bit because he's not pressing as hard sometimes.
Yeah, but the difference is you're not pressing when Rashford's sitting 20 yards from his own box.
Yes.
And if you watch the play, it's the 91st minute after he just sprinted to the corner, and the moment that Ross Barkley dribbles around him, he dribbles into 3 defenders and then passes a sideways backward pass.
I wasn't even going to reference that, but you have to say, watching Rashford, Garnacho's in fault as well. I feel like they don't press sometimes, and that's why they're able to break.
Garnacho's
the
press.
The only reason that it's even brought up is because it's not the first time. If that was the first time that we'd ever seen Rashy not press hard, or at least just look like he's giving a shit, then it wouldn't have even been a conversation. But that's the only reason it came back up.
Rashford was very solid yesterday too in all aspects of the game.
Yeah. I'm not arguing
defensively,
that either.
Defensively before that, but it's like I could pull a 1-second clip of Saka
right on that.
in the 80th minute when a guy's sitting there and he's just like kind of moving side to side. It's like Rashford has historically not been great at defending. That's just not what he does. But like the pulling a 1-second clip to be like, well, get rid of your star boy, he's got to go, is just fucking insane to me.
Yeah, it's lazy. But I think the big things for me of not finishing the chances from Garnacho and Bruno was screaming at the TV at Amsterdam. Shout out at Amsterdam one time, but I was screaming at the TV about that. And then Bruno in general, bro. I think Bruno's really sliding off. It's really frustrating. I think he looks fatigued. I think he looks tired. But you know, I was with Russo. You brought him up earlier, but I was with Russo, and one of the things that he brought up that was interesting is he asked me the question if I think that Bruno has the locker room. Like, do we think that he's the guy who is the leader? And what I told him is, I think for the first time in recent years, at least, I'm not going to say, you know, since Fergie left, because I don't know, but in recent years, it looks like we have actual leaders, plural, in the dressing room, and it looks like there are some guys who are stepping into their leadership. Like, obviously we know of Licha, we know of Cassie, but it looks like Haaland is commanding more respect in that locker room. It looks like Manu is commanding more respect on the field. There is a moment early in the game where Bruno did some shit defensively and Manu pulled him aside, and you could see him in Bruno's ear saying stuff about, you know, that's not what we're doing there. So I think that we're finally seeing some like the leadership responsibilities being dispersed rather than everything being on Bruno's shoulders or Maguire's shoulders over the last couple of years. And I think that that's going to bode well, at least for the rest of the season. We'll see what happens next season. The United Twitter is never a dull place ever. This week was talking about it's time to cash in on Bruno and send him off to some other team. And I think that's a little reactionary, but you know, it'd be worth a conversation for me if a team comes in for 60, 70 million for Bruno in the summer. I'd be willing to talk about it. So it is interesting, kind of like with the Burnley conversation, you can only beat the team that's in front of you. We fortunately beat ours, albeit
4 months ago, we lose or tie that game. Like 100%.
4
months ago, we lose or tie that game.
I was shocked you guys made it out. To be honest, like Luton were really fun to watch. I thought they were great, and I agree they didn't have
possession. They didn't.
Yeah, they didn't
really
have super clear cut chances, but like they weren't not knocking. You know, like they were definitely in and around your box a lot, and their buildup was flawless in my opinion. They didn't have those guys to finish those chances and really create the danger, but like hoofing it up to the big guy. Big man number 9 brings it down, finds a pass out, win the second ball every time, and then they're on. Like it worked to a T. I was really impressed, and I think that's just more credit to them. You know, on a newly promoted side, there is an aspect of needing to sit in, but they don't want to. Like
no.
Sometimes you do it too much. Sometimes you don't do it enough, and I do think they should have had another one or two, hung up on them too. But I was so impressed by it. I was so impressed, and I thought that a couple extra pieces in and around that box, they get one at least. I thought they looked great.
I think that's and you never want to say this about your own team, but the fact that what Luton struggled to do is break down the low block that we sat in, because they would break the press and then they would try to break down the low block. And that's where it was kind of like, we had Johnny Evans. I think he ended up with 13 clearances just in the second half. It was like,
yeah.
Ain't no thing.
They were sitting there whipping crosses in, and like, we were happy to deal with it. And that's never the way that we want to play, but it was effective,
Yeah.
I have a quick factor cap for you fellas before we move on. Factor cap. Ross Barkley is on the plane to the Euros this summer.
Cap. Because
really?
Well,
they have so many players.
Run through that midfield, Hen.
Brother, I think that it's a fact. I think that he's nailed on to play the 8. And I don't think he's going to start. I think that they're going to find a way to play Bellingham, Rice, and Foden. I think that that's how they're going to go. But I think the only reason
you may have credit here is because we're talking about Gareth Southgate. I don't think any other manager in their right mind is making that decision. And you even said it, and Ian Wright said it. Kobe Mainoo deserves it. He was.
I think he deserves it too.
He was exceptional, and he's been exceptional, and I'll give you that 100%. So, to compare those two guys, if we're talking about a similar position, they were the two best players on the field, but one of them's a hag, an old man.
I'm saying cap. I listened to Rio's podcast today where they're reacting and literally talking about this exactly. And his point was he can see Calvin Phillips not necessarily going, because now there's not really an excuse. His form's been terrible. Before it was he's performed well in an England shirt, so Southgate's gonna bring him. Rio's point was that you still have to bring Henderson, because when you look at a player like Henderson,
that would fucking kill me, bro.
But just listen to his point. His point was you have to have a captain, and he's not going to be the captain, of course, but people in the locker room who have been there and won things. That's an important aspect to do. It's like, we all love Harry Kane. We think Harry Kane's a world-class striker. Harry Kane's not a captain that's ever led a team to a trophy. And I do think from a locker room perspective, that's why he's saying that he thinks Henderson would go. And I could seriously see him taking Kobe Mainoo because he thinks he's the future, versus just Ross Barkley, who probably does deserve it, but at the same time sort of building for the future and being like, I'm going to bring Kobe. Or James Ward-Prowse probably deserves it as well. There's a ton of guys that also deserve that spot.
Midfielders.
Yeah, but I do think Henderson is going to be God. We're talking about Southgate.
I know, bro. I know he's going to bring his boys. But Henderson brings up a good transition. Carabao Cup final, which is a prestigious trophy. I don't want anyone to talk.
Up the Chels, baby! Up the Chels!
Yeah, we have a showdown this weekend between Liverpool and Chelsea. This is first attempt at silverware this season for Chelsea, and I'll go out and say it. If Chelsea goes on to win this game, the season is not for nothing. It's going to be a bad league finish for sure. But if they pull away with this trophy, I think Nick is gonna fucking show up for this podcast the rest of this season, shoulders at 1,000. He's gonna be
it's a prestigious trophy.
It is a prestigious trophy. You can't downplay it.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what were you saying? So Nikki, what are the thoughts ahead of this game? Do you stand a chance? And how are you feeling going into it?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. We'll see how it goes. I definitely think it's an important game for us.
You said we'll see.
But when I think about how we've been performing of late, and we're kind of on a good trend right now, and when that's happened, we've seen drastic fall offs after. So I'm hoping that we can continue our good form. I will say it's completely on brand for Chelsea to have an average season and still win a title. That's just kind of what we do. So I could definitely see something happening. And I feel like the only reason I'm a little nervous is we've been in a lot of cup finals of late, and we've lost a lot of those cup finals. So those aren't always fun. But I definitely think the form that we're in, hopefully it can continue. But I also think my agenda is my agenda, but when we played Liverpool this year with Trent on the field, it was a really close game. We tied. And then when Bradley came on, they spanked us. So just saying.
Chelsea
I
plus
selfishly-
390. Chelsea plus 390, fellas.
I selfishly
yeah.
would be
Worth a
so
sprinkle.
annoyed if Chelsea won a trophy this year, bro.
I would too.
I know you would.
I'd be so annoyed.
Who've give Nick some give I was gonna say give him some insight on poaching finals, man.
Yeah.
As long as you don't have Musa Sissoko getting a handball in the first minute that shouldn't have been called a handball, you might be okay, because that's my memory of it. But
Do you have nightmares about that one?
I will die seeing Mudryk holding up a fucking trophy and posting it on Instagram. That'll be
I will
nuts.
I will say that the game against City just has to. That's the best team in the world to most people. Yeah. Like taking points is confidence for a squad 100%. For sure going into a final. Like
people forget how young we are as well. We are so young, and I think confidence is huge
and expensive.
Oh, absolutely.
People are not forgetting about how expensive they are.
Who would you start as a 9? Would you start Jackson? And Kuko's been very lackluster, but
I was talking with the boys. I think the number 9 on our side right now is set up for failure. So I think
it has to be Jackson just because he has more size. But
I also don't want Sterling on the left. So if you have to put Jackson on the left and Palmer out right, and then
Sterling on the left.
Top,
it's going to be Sterling.
It's going to be Sterling on the left.
I absolutely hate that, but
it's ridiculous.
I think with a lot of this team, you can just put them in one of those randomizer websites and just click randomize
any 11,
and it's yeah.
Well, best of luck to you, Nikki. I think we can speak on behalf of all of us that we are cheering for no one in this game. So
injuries.
Yeah, injuries. Just as many of them as possible.
That's bad karma, boys.
Boo.
Yeah,
bad karma.
Well, fellas, midweek we have 2 Champions League games, and the Champions League last week did not disappoint. But the 2 that we're looking ahead to is we have Inter Milan taking on Atletico Madrid and PSV facing Dortmund. On the surface, it looks like that Atletico Inter Milan game is probably the headliner of the midweek games. But how are you feeling about these 2? Do either one of these stand out to you, or is it just kind of like we'll see what happens in this round?
The Champions League has lost. I mean, I get United's not in it, but it's lost a little bit. The away goals is I watched one of the games last week just because Real Madrid was playing, but I'm excited for these. I honestly am more excited for the games on Wednesday than I'll watch them because footy's on, but I'm not over the moon. I don't know if it's the draw. I don't know if it's, I'm not.
Yeah, wasn't great draws. Wasn't a lot of notable teams to make it out of their group even, for real. I'm just looking at the game on paper now, and Inter's really good. I think they're not credited as being as good as they are.
That's the only game I could see. I think Inter's fun to watch.
And it's fun to watch. Yeah. PSV's the American sensation.
That's what I'm looking for,
which is nice. Yeah.
Let's get the Americans out there and let's see what's happening. But with that being said, let's go to Wednesday then. So we have Napoli, Barcelona, and Porto, Arsenal. Obviously, with the Arsenal affiliate in this chat, we have to be stoked for that game. But the Napoli-Barcelona one will be quite interesting. There's a lot of buzz going around Barcelona at the moment, obviously with Xavi leaving. Some people are even saying that if he fails to make it past this round, that he could not even see the end of the season, that he might get sacked after this round. But then again, you have Napoli, who's not exactly firing on all cylinders.
They just fired their coach. Napoli just fired their coach, I think, today.
So you just have this turmoil of a game.
Battle of the shit show.
Yeah, it really is. But both teams have guys in that squad who can change the game, on a dime. So that'll be an interesting one. But Lucas, how are we feeling against Porto? I know that Portuguese teams are sometimes Arsenal's kryptonite. So especially in European
where's this
competition.
one at, Winks?
It's in Porto.
This is there. It's away the first game. Yeah, but honestly, I haven't watched a lot of Porto this year outside of the group stage, but exactly. I can't say I've watched a Primera Liga game this season, but I was looking at it over the weekend, and I think they're in third in their league right now, which isn't saying a ton, but I think it goes back to the way that we've been playing recently, and assuming that Arteta doesn't mix the lineup up too much, which I doubt he will. There's rumors that Partey will be fully fit for this game, so I could see him. Yeah,
Is
he
he
allowed
able
in
to
that
travel
country?
out of the country?
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
bro.
all
Literally
three
all
of
of
us
us
at the same time.
good
Classic.
God. No, but there are rumors going around that he's gonna be in the squad. I don't know about. I doubt starting. Obviously, I doubt his first game back is starting in a Champions League game. But if that rumor is true, could see him coming on sometime in the second half. But
Arsenal's not really great at confirming rumors, so
yeah. But no, I'm excited for it. It's obviously been a while since we've gotten to watch Champions League football, minus last week. So I'm just excited to watch them, twice in 1 week coming up. But
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing you guys dropping anything here.
Yeah.
I think
I don't see
Arsenal's
it happen, but
probably right behind City, in my opinion. As crazy as that sounds, in terms of like,
no, man. And I
maybe,
think also
maybe Real, I think, is like
Yeah.
another one you could toss in.
Real,
There's like
dude.
top three.
I'm not ruling out Inter yet either. I think they're going to make a run. Bayern could bottom out themselves, bro.
That's what I'm
We're
saying.
all-
Like
we're all
Bayern
against-
is going to go out. I
dropping
mean,
points to Bochum this weekend.
Nuts.
Amsterdam. There's a whole Bayern supporter section at Amsterdam losing their goddamn mind.
I love it.
At Amsterdam.
I love it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
brutal. But no, nonetheless, if I could have picked a round of 16 opponent, Porto would have been on the short list. So just more than anything, thankful that we got that, and similar to a couple of our last Prem games, as long as we take advantage of the games that we should win, I think we'll be in a good spot. But again, hope Arteta doesn't switch up the lineup.
Yeah, you just never know.
You don't, but
it's the champions, fellas. Champions League. Last but not least, fellas, MLS Home Opener this weekend with St. Louis City.
Get in.
We're recording this Monday night, so it is February 19th, and tomorrow when this goes live on Tuesday, it's the day of the CONCACAF Champions League. So we'll get the opportunity to see 2 games this week. Next week's episode will have 2 weeks of recaps to come, but we kick off against Real Salt Lake this weekend. And last year, just to remind you, we went 1-1 with them in the series. We tied the series. We had a kind of an interesting run. We had a 3-1 loss at home in June. And if you remember, what's that kid's name? Diego
Luna, bro. I hated that game.
Luna.
He was a dog.
Yeah. He was everywhere. He was the best player on the field by a mile. But then we went to their spot in March and thrashed them 4-0. So we did our season preview of the St. Louis City team. That's up on our Spotify, up on our YouTube now. Go and check it out. But Real Salt Lake has 4 incoming signings this season, all on the left side of the field, seemingly left back, left winger, striker. Do you have any preseason thoughts on this game, or is it something that we'll just have to wait and see how we go game 1?
I think it's hard to predict much outside of game to game with these guys.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Whatever we see tomorrow could be completely different. And I do think since we've had some of those signings come in, I do truthfully think it'll be rotated. We won't, so early in the season. We talked about it a ton on the preview, but it's about longevity and it's about closing the season well. So I think that with the learning curve, we will see some early rotation, and I'm cool with that. To be fair, obviously you want to win your games at home no matter what. You win your games at home, you set yourself up really well for the rest of the season. But they're going to be tough. They were one of that I remember that game losing and how angry I was in the stands.
Yeah, me too.
And that's the last thing that you want to give to your fans in the second match in the stadium. So who knows?
Yeah, not sure.
I will say that I think this is a good time just to say that I hate Don Garber. I don't really have much to say about the game because I do think that it's very reactionary. It's very tough to predict the game when there's a game in between it. I'm going to say we're going to win because we're going to win a lot. But I also want to say that Don Garber's an idiot. Like, just with all the discourse that's come, are they even serious? Are they legit going to play? Like, because there was the rumors that the season was in doubt because the referees.
For the fans that don't know what you're talking about, give some context to why Dan Garber is a piece of shit.
Well, I think the whole deal. And we talked about this in a previous podcast. The whole thing where currently MLS players are not allowed, or MLS clubs are not allowed to play their top team within the U.S. Open Cup. It's essentially the goal is to make the Leagues Cup sort of the main focus as that, or that I guess that third competition, so to speak, for MLS teams. Most MLS fans, or most I guess U.S. soccer fans, see the Open Cup as a way for kind of like the FA Cup, kind of like the FA Cup is in England, where it gives the opportunity for these lower level teams to play top MLS teams, to go to big stadiums, to really make a name for themselves. Not only that, obviously St. Louis has a ton of history just in the Open Cup with how many times they've won it. But essentially, what's kind of going on right now is I did see that, and I can't remember the guy's exact title, but it was today that. Do you remember his title? Is he CEO, whatever it was?
The U.S.
U.S. I can't know. It was like chairman, I think it was.
Yeah, it was chairman.
They essentially asked the MLS asked the chairman of the U.S. Open Cup to step down, and he stepped down. Essentially, with the goal, MLS is sort of focusing on the commercial side of, we're going to focus on the Leagues Cup. Messi won the Leagues Cup last year. Let's make the Leagues Cup a big deal. And a lot of fans are extremely mad about it. Everybody sort of sees right through it, sees it as a money grab, sees it as the ability for them to make extra cash, put it on Apple TV versus YouTube. Show some Beats by Dre commercials with MLS logos.
So lame.
And it's essentially just commercializing the sport versus what takes away from that grassroots approach of, we want to see these teams get an opportunity to play at City Park. We want to see players have an opportunity to make a name for themselves.
Dude, and that's one of the things that I feel like we have a bone to pick with him on is, like, we're starting the season with replacement referees. For those that don't know, the essentially the CBA that they gave to the pro refs was not good enough. The pay is too low. I guess the refs don't even have benefits. There's so many things that are pointing basically back towards Garber to being like, this guy's a total POS. So that's another. The fact that we're starting with God knows what refs, and
we thought the refs last season.
We thought the refs were bad anyway. Yeah, I have no idea what we're gonna see, because I know for a fact Butchie would confirm. Dobes, you can too. Those high school refs suck. So if we've got lower quality refs, there's just no way it's gonna go well.
Mecca of banter to referee a game.
I know for a fact I would be a better ref on the pitch sometimes than some of these other cats. So
let's go.
That's one. We're charging $200, $150 to $200 for these new kits that they've rolled out all week. There's a laundry list of issues with the MLS right now, and I know that we're going to see protests from the Luligans on the Leagues Cup. I'm personally not going to the Leagues Cup. I have no interest in paying money to go watch that cash grab. And I think we're going to see that kind of trickle down. And I do hope we see something from the Luligans soon. I would love to just see couple Garber out signs maybe, or an ML dollar sign with a little slash through it in the middle in the supporter sections. I think those types of things should stick around all year, because they're pulling away the fabric that we fell in love with the European game for. Like, the concept of being local and of having this jeopardy on you every single season. We're not going to get promotion relegation in the next 25 years. But the way they're moving now is we're never going to get it. There's not going to be that level of history for these low clubs to make these jumps. There's not going to be that excitement around your local that you can, build on. So we're not growing the game anymore. Their concept was we're growing the game. Everything we're doing is for growing the game. No, they're growing the league. And then they're going to play by their own rules in a little bubble. So those are my frustrations. It's insane to watch them use this Messi stuff and make all their money right now off of him. It's overdone. I'm kind of tired of seeing the guy's face in our capacity. Love him to death, best player ever, no question, unbelievable. But I'm tired of seeing it. Their Saudi Arabian world tour, everything that they were doing has turned out horribly for them. They've got major injuries in the squad. And no one knows how their roster rules work. They're getting all these cats. They've not used that to the best of their abilities, in my opinion. And I want to see change. I want to see RC cars out on the field with smoke bombs delaying the games like Bundesliga 2, so that we can, really let him know. Like, it's just frustrating. We're not looking good right now as a league, but love the club, hate the league. That's how it's going to be.
That's how it always is.
Yeah,
how it should be. Well, fellas, that wraps up this week's episode of the Mecca Banter Podcast. I want to give a shout out to Manscaped. Thank you for sponsoring tonight's episode. As a reminder, get 20% off and free shipping with the code MECCA20. Again, that is MECCA, MECCA 2020 at manscaped.com. Embrace a new you and definitely embrace a new trimmer courtesy of Manscaped. Gentlemen, good work tonight. Here we are, St. Louis. Let's go get after some games.
Come on,
Cheers,
City.
fellas. Good work.
Come
Yes,
on,
man.
dude.
Tomorrow we're in the stadium, fellas.
Let's go.
Ooh.